Good afternoon. This is Stella here, Health and Wellness Coach. Welcome into Health and Wellness Sunday. It's thundering a little bit outside. I think it's going to rain. It's been raining every single day. Not that you want a weather forecast for here in Florida. Sunny Auburndale, Florida. At least it was 5 minutes ago. Anyway, good afternoon wherever you are in the world. So, anyway, in answer to a diet, weight loss, thank you for your inquiry. Meat puts a lot of weight on people. It stores as fat, but your carbohydrates, your starches is where you get the energy and you lose the weight. Your starches would be things like carrots, baked potatoes, squash, sweet potatoes. Those are the ones that give you the energy and everything. Plus, all your vegetables have carbohydrates in them. I'm mainly a plant-based, and for your protein, for muscle building and for maintaining your body, you get a lot of your protein from legumes, such would be black-eyed peas, black beans, kidney beans, lima beans, chickpeas, etc., etc., etc. So what happens when you consume a lot of meat, and if you're eating a lot of meat, I would cut back to maybe one time a week and use it as a condiment, not your main course. What happens when you consume the meat and you're consuming that plate full of vegetables and other starches, what happens is the fat in the meat stores in your body. And it burns the carbohydrates from the vegetables and the starches first. Now, if you are on a vegetarian diet or a vegan diet and you're not losing weight and you're consuming processed foods, and it says organic, well, excuse me, you're not going to lose weight. Those blue corn chips that says organic on the box, they have saturated fat. They're cooked in saturated fat. And that saturated fat is going to store in your body. So anyway, you need to start reading labels and checking it out. Okay, moving on. Last week I kind of touched on fluoride a little bit, and I said I was going to elaborate. It turns out that we're going to have number four, but today is number 3, and the reason I'm gonna, on your microminerals, I'm gonna touch on fluoride is because it's a controversial micromineral. And I've read the different science reports on them, and I read the reports like from the Colgate company. They got a dog in the fight. They have something to benefit from it. So of course they're only going to give you what they want you to know and promote the benefits. So this is something that I felt was necessary. It's going to be a little bit lengthy, but it is really, 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 really something I think everybody should be aware of. So I'm going to put my glasses on, I'm going to read my notes, and then I'm going to go to the internet and pull up the research and read that to you on there's 100 reasons that they list why you should not do fluoride. Well, anyway, I'm gonna put this down. Ta-ta. Fluorine is a chemical element with a symbol F and the atom number 9. It is the lightest halogen and exists as highly toxic pale yellow diatomic gas at standard conditions. As the most electron negative element, it is extremely reactive as it reacts with almost all other elements except for helium and neon. Uses of fluorine. The compounds of fluorine, including sodium fluoride, are used in toothpaste and in drinking water to prevent cavities. Hydrofluoric acid can dissolve glass and is used to etch glass in light bulbs and in other products. Fluoride is found naturally in the soil, water, and food. It is also found synthetically for use in drinking water, toothpaste, mouthwashes, and various chemical products that we consume. Water authorities add fluoride to water supply because the studies have shown that adding it can reduce the prevalence of tooth decay in populations. Almost 99% of the fluoride found in the teeth, bones, and calcified tissue like the pineal gland. Now let me touch on the pineal gland, that calcification in your pineal gland. The pineal gland, it's actually a pine cone shaped endocrine gland, and it is located in the back portion of the third cerebral ventricle of the brain. This gland lies in between two halves of the brain. The pineal gland function plays a role in sexual maturation and female reproduction. It also secretes the hormone melatonin, which is the hormone that helps regulate biological rhythms such as sleep and wake cycles known as circadian rhythms. The secretion of melatonin is inhibited by light and triggered by darkness. So the fluoride, when it calcifies there in that gland inside your brain, it affects your sex life, not in a good way. The primary function of fluoride to provide strength to the teeth and enamel and prevent bone loss. But does the protective benefits outweigh the harm it presents? Too much fluoride makes the teeth brittle. For 35 years, it has been known that African American children have twice the prevalence of dental fluorosis as Caucasian children and tend to be more severe. Fluoride toxicity also attacks your bones and makes your bones brittle. Dental fluorosis, for those of you that don't know what that is, dental fluorosis is a common disorder characterized by hypomineralization of tooth enamel caused by ingestion of excessive fluoride during enamel formation. It causes a range of intrinsic tooth discoloration, in some cases physical damage to the teeth. Intrinsic means that it discolors from the inside out, from the dentin, which is the meat inside your tooth, out. And you're stuck with that for life. Children in high fluoride areas have significantly lower IQ scores than those in low fluoride areas, and results support the possibility of an adverse effect of which high fluoride exposure on children's neurodevelopment. I'm going to be going into where they have a website called fluoridealert.org. If you want to check into that, that's very informative. In Europe, only Ireland, 73%, Poland, 1%, Serbia, 3%, Spain, 11%, and the UK, 11% fluoride, any of their water. That's it in Europe. Most developed countries, including Japan, and 97% of Western European population do not consume fluoridated water. In the US, about 70% of the public water supplies are fluoridated. This equals to approximately 185 million people, which is over half the number of people drinking artificially fluoridated water worldwide. We have more people right here in the US drinking fluoridated water than anywhere else in the world. So G proteins, so anyway, I'm going to go on and read to you. I'm going to try to get through this 100 reasons if I can, as quickly as possible, and if I can't, oh well. You will at least know where I'm coming from and why I personally think fluoride in our water is a bad deal. I have a water filter system sitting in my kitchen that I pour my water through. It has a fluoride filter that also filters out arsenic or any heavy metals in the water. So, and it's called Big Berkeley, if you're interested. It's very pretty stainless steel, but very functional and very useful. Fluoridation is bad medical practice. Fluoride is the only chemical added to the water for the purpose of medical treatment. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, classifies fluoride as a drug. So its classification is a medicine, it's a drug. When used to mitigate disease, when used to treat disease. As a matter of basic logic, adding fluoride to water for the sole purpose of preventing tooth decay is a form of medical treatment. All other water treatment chemicals are added to improve the water's quality or safety, which fluoride does not. So it's unethical. That is the standard practice for all medications that are given to you is informed consent. Is the population informed? Have they consented to drinking this fluoride? I don't think so. With water fluoridation, we are allowing governments to do the whole communities, forcing people to take a medicine irrespective of their consent. What individual doctors cannot do to individual patients. Put it another way, does a voter have the right to require that their neighbor ingest a certain medication, even if it's against the neighbor's will? The dose cannot be controlled. Once fluoride is put in the water, it is impossible to control the dose for each individual because people drink different amounts of water. Being able to control the dose a patient receives is critical. Some people, manual laborers, athletes, diabetics, and people with kidney disease drink substantially more water than others. I'm an athlete, I drink a lot of water. So, the fluoride goes to everyone regardless of age, health, or vulnerability. So, medicine, physiology, and one of the scientists who helped keep fluoridation out of Sweden was the one that made this statement, and he's absolutely correct. People now receive fluoride from many other sources besides water. Fluoridated water is not the only way we are exposed to fluoride. Other sources of fluoride include food, because it's naturally in our food, beverages processed with fluoridated water, such as your sodas that you buy at wherever you buy, fluoridated dental products, deboned meat, tea, and pesticide residuals on food. It is now widely acknowledged that exposure to non-water sources of fluoride has significantly increased since the water fluoridation program first began in 2006. Fluoride is not an essential nutrient. So no disease, not even tooth decay, is caused by a fluoride deficiency. Not a single biological process has been shown to require fluoride. On the contrary, there is an extensive evidence that fluoride can interfere with many important biological processes. Fluoride interferes with numerous enzymes. In combination with aluminum, fluoride interferes with G proteins. Now, a G protein, if you're not familiar with a G protein, it acts as a molecular switch inside cells and are involved in transmitting signals from a variety of stimuli outside a cell to its interior. It communicates, it interferes with the communication. And when you have cells that are interfered with in their communication, you could get the wrong signal and you end up creating cancer inside your body. Think about that one. So, such interactions I already read that. More and more studies indicate that fluoride can interfere with the biochemistry in fundamental ways. The level in mother's milk is very low, considering it is perhaps not surprising that the level of fluoride in mother's milk is remarkably low. This means that bottle-fed babies consuming fluoridated water can get up to 300 times more fluoride than a breastfed baby. There are no benefits for infants ingesting this heightened level of fluoride at such an early age, and especially when they're very susceptible to environmental toxins. And at that age, they're particularly vulnerable. They haven't developed their immunity system. Fluoride accumulates in the body. Healthy adult kidneys excrete 50 to 60% of the fluoride ingested each day. The remainder accumulates in the body largely in calcifying tissues such as the bones and the pineal gland. Infants and children excrete less fluoride from their kidneys and take up to 80% of the ingested fluoride into their bones. The fluoride concentration in bones steadily increases over a lifetime, and that has a tendency to make your bones brittle. So anyway, there has never been a single randomized controlled trial to demonstrate fluoridation's effectiveness or safety. Sorry about that. Anyway, oh my. Anyway, in 2000, the British government York Review could not give a single fluoridation trial a grade A classification, despite that they did 50 years of research. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the Fraud and Deception the Food and Drug Association continues to classify fluoride as an approved drug, Benefits is not topical, it's systemic. The Center of Disease Control and Prevention has acknowledged that the mechanisms of fluoride benefits are mainly topical, not systemic. There is no need whatsoever, therefore, to swallow fluoride to protect teeth. So, since swallowing fluoride is unnecessary and potentially dangerous, there is no justification for forcing people against their will to ingest fluoride through their water supply. Fluoride is not necessary. Most Western industrialized countries have rejected water fluoridation, but have nevertheless experienced the same decline in childhood dental decay as fluoridated countries. And there's data on that at the World Health Organization, and it actually is presented graphically in a figure, and you can look at that, where tooth decay has gone down from teaching children simple dental hygiene, health care. Fluoridation role in the decline of tooth decay is in serious doubt. The largest survey ever conducted in the U.S., over 39,000 children from 84 communities by the National Institute of Dental Research showed little difference in tooth decay among children in fluoridated and non-fluoridated communities. According to researchers, the study found an average difference of only 0.6 DMFS, which is decay, missing, and on filled surfaces in the permanent teeth of children ages 5 to 17, residing their entire lives in either fluoridated or unfluoridated areas. This difference is less than one tooth surface and less than 1% of 100 plus tooth surfaces. Large surveys from 3 Australian states have found even less of a benefit with decay reductions, around 0.3 of one permanent tooth surface. None of these studies have allowed for possible delayed eruption of teeth that may be caused by exposure to fluoride. Eruption of teeth means that the baby teeth have fallen out and the new teeth, the permanent teeth, are coming through and coming in. Just so little clarification on that one. A once-year delay in eruption of permanent teeth will eliminate the very small benefit recorded in these modern studies. A multi-million-dollar U.S. National Institute of Health funded study found no significant relationship between tooth decay and fluoride intake among children. This is the first time tooth decay has been investigated as a function of individual exposure. So anyway, tooth decay is high in low-income communities that have been fluoridated for years. Despite some of the claims to contrary, water fluoridation cannot prevent the oral health crisis that result from rampant poverty, inadequate nutrition, lack of access to dental care. There have been numerous reports of severe dental crisis in low-income neighborhoods of the U.S. cities that have been fluoridated for over 20 years. For example, Boston, Cincinnati, New York City, and Pittsburgh, just to name a couple. In addition, research has repeatedly found fluoridation to be ineffective at preventing the most serious oral health problem facing poor children, namely baby bottle tooth decay, otherwise known as early childhood cavities or caries. Tooth decay does not go up when fluoridation is stopped. Where fluoridation has been discontinued in communities from Canada and the former East Germany, Cuba, and Finland, dental decay has not increased, but has generally continued to decrease. Tooth decay was coming down before fluoridation was even started in our waters. Modern research shows that decay rates were coming down before fluoridation was introduced into Australia and New Zealand and have continued to decline after its benefits. So anyway, the studies that launched fluoride were methodologically flawed. The early trials conducted between 1945 and 1955 in North America that helped to launch fluoridation have been heavily criticized for their poor structure of the study and their poor choice of control communities. So anyway, one of the scientists here calls them muddleheads. I think that's fun. How scientific. You're a muddlehead. Children are being overexposed to fluoride. The fluoridation program has massively failed to achieve one of its key objectives, to lower dental decay. The goal of the early promoters of fluoridation was to limit dental fluorosis, and it promoted it rather than lowered it. The highest doses of fluoride are going to the bottle fed, which, because of their sole reliance on liquids for their food, infants consuming formula made with fluoridated water have the highest exposure to fluoride by body weight in the population. Because infants' exposure to fluoridated water has been repeatedly found to be a major risk for developing dental fluorosis and later when their permanent teeth come through. A number of the dental researchers have recommended that parents and newborns not use fluoridated water when reconstituting formula. So it's in the hands of the parents, but here's the sad part. The parents aren't being informed as to the risk. There's more risk than just teeth. I'm getting to it. Dental fluorosis may be an indicator of wider systemic damage. There has been many suggestions as to the possible biochemical mechanisms underlying the development of dental fluorosis. While promoters of fluoridation are content to dismiss dental fluorosis in its milder form as merely a cosmetic effect, it is rash to assume that fluoride is not impacting the other developing tissue when it is visibly damaging the teeth by some biochemical mechanism. Moreover, ingested fluoride can only cause dental fluorosis during the period before the permanent teeth have erupted. So the damage is being done while those teeth are developing inside the jaw before they come out. It also, we're up to reason number 22. Fluoride damages the brain. According to the National Research Council, it is apparent that fluorides have the ability to interfere with the function of the brain. In a review of the literature commissioned by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, fluoride has been listed among 100 chemicals for which there is substantial evidence of developmental neurotoxicity. In an animal experiment, showed that fluoride accumulates in the brain and alters mental behavior in a manner consistent with neurotoxic agent. In total, there have now been over 100 animal experiments showing that fluoride can damage the brain and impact the learning and behavior, not just of children, but of adults too. According to the fluoridation proponents, these animal studies can be ignored because high doses were used. However, it is important to note that rats generally required 5 times more fluoride to reach the same plasma levels as a human. So, anyway, further, one animal experiment found effects at remarkably low doses. In this study, rats fed for 1 year 1 ppm. That is, what a ppm is, parts per million. So just in case, with 1 ppm fluoride in their water, using either sodium fluoride or aluminum fluoride. Now, aluminum is toxic to your body and it affects your brain function too. And aluminum is also present in some of your vaccines, which causes autism. In a lot of the kids nowadays, we have more autism than ever. Fluoride had morph changes. So the fluoride or aluminum fluoride had morphological changes to their kidneys, brains, and increased uptake of aluminum in the brain. You're fine.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll be quiet, sorry.
It's okay. Hi to everybody out there on YouTube.
Hi. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
You're good. Fluoride it lowers the IQ. There have been 33 studies from China, Iran, India, and Mexico that have reported an association between fluoride exposure and reduction in the IQ. One of these studies indicates that even just moderate levels of fluoride exposure, 9 parts per million in the water, now remember that's part per million is 1,000th of a one milliliter. Sorry, I will focus here. Okay. Fluoride it does cause non-IQ neurotoxic effects. Reduction in the IQ is not the only neurotoxic effect that may result from fluoride exposure. At least 3 human studies have reported an association between fluoride exposure, impaired visual-spatial organization, which means your peripheral, the visual of the space you're in, you get a reduction in your visual. And that it impacts on developing the brain and should be a high research priority. Except for one small IQ study from New Zealand, no fluoridating country has ever yet investigated this matter. Fluoride affects the pineal gland. Now, as I said earlier, the pineal gland is the gland that is located between the 2 hemispheres in the back of your brain and is part of your endocrine system. It is part of your sexual development in males and females, and when that starts to calcify from the fluoride, well, guess what happens to your sex life? So, anyway, so that's something that you might want to keep in mind there, folks. Fluoride causes arthritic symptoms. It does not cause arthritis, it causes symptoms, and a lot of the doctors are misdiagnosing arthritis when it is toxic from the fluoride. Fluoride may increase the hip fractures in elderly because it causes the bones to become more brittle. People with impaired kidney function are particularly vulnerable to bone damage because of their inability to effectively excrete the fluoride. People with kidney disease are prone to accumulating high levels of fluoride in their bones and their blood. And as a result of this high fluoride body burden, kidney patients have an elevated risk for developing skeletal fluorosis. In one of the studies U.S. studies investigating the matter, crippling skeletal fluorosis was documented among many patients with severe kidney disease, drinking water with just 1.7 parts per million of fluoride. Since severe skeletal fluorosis in kidney patients have been detected in small case studies, it is likely that larger systemic studies would detect skeletal fluorosis at even lower fluoride levels. Fluoride can cause bone cancer, osteosarcoma. A U.S. governmental funded animal study found a dose-dependent increase in bone cancer in fluoride-treated male rats following the result of the study. This bone cancer is more prevalent in males than females. Females can get it too from an overexposure of ingesting fluoride, but it's more prevalent in the male. So, proponents have failed to refute the osteosarcoma study. Ellen Basson, a dentist, successfully deferred her doctoral thesis